there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Silver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Greetings. It is a glorious day filled with love, health, opportunity, and potential. I'm very excited about today's show, partly because I have been a fan of this guy for a long time. And as you know, in this show, we bring you some really cool people. In the first hour, in the second hour, we start taking your calls at studiomoney.info/live guests. If you're the most interesting guest of the day, then you will win 10 ounces of pure silver. Marshall Silver at that. Refined 0.999 fine, which I kind of take offense to that I'm only 0.999 fine. I think I'm totally fine. And more than that, should you happen to say the secret word of the day, today, $2,500 cash up for grabs. Secret word of the day inside the envelope. So lots of good stuff going on. Back to today's guest, though. Today's guest, this guy, I don't even know how he did what he did. He is, without a doubt, one of the forerunners inside of digital broadcasting. In fact, he has a show called Digital Social Hour. And he's not only the host of that show, he's had some pretty astounding guests on there. He's had Grant Cardone and some other just big names, people that get around. And this guy is the guy. He's got over almost 1 million. I just looked at his account, almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He travels all over the world, captivating audiences, got a knack for going deep into the digital culture and bringing out the most in his guests. He's positioned his podcast, Digital Social Hour, as a must-listen to anyone keen on understanding the pulse inside the digital world. He's a phenomenal guy, great host. I was on his podcast, and just fun to be near. Please, nice, big Marshall Silver Live welcome to Sean Kelly. Welcome to the show, Sean.
What an intro. Thanks for having me, Marshall.
Hey, man, great to see you again. You know, it took us a long time to connect. You and I had been chatting for almost a year about your show. And in the meantime, I watched your show just blow up. So I'm grateful to get you on the show. I know you're very busy and excited to hear more about it. So why don't we start there? How long has your show been on the air?
Yeah, first episode I filmed in January. I think it released in March. So about a year now.
That's boggling that you've done what you've done in a year. How many, obviously you've got almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Is that the major platform for your show?
Yeah, that's the biggest for long form, but where we really go viral, I'd say, is the short form. So Instagram, we just had a video there get 25 million views. It's crazy, man. The snowball effect's really starting to see.
That's insane. How many episodes have you done? I know you do a lot of shows.
Yeah, I filmed about 620, but I've released half. So yeah, about 600 a year is what I'm aiming for.
And so 600 a year. Most people are doing one a week, which would be 50. So you're doing 12 times that. So when you release your shows, how many are you releasing? Two a day or?
Yeah, two a day, and I still have like a 4 month backlog, so I'm kind of debating if I should do three a day, but I think two a day is good for now.
And your format, 30 minutes each show. And I
Yeah,
was
30
talking,
minutes.
say it again.
Yeah, 30 minutes. They're doing studies on optimal podcast length, and actually 23 minutes is where people start to drop off heavily. So I kind of keep mine on the shorter side.
Well, that's awesome. You do like 15 shows a day when you're recording.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
So tell me, what was the idea? What makes Digital Social Hour different, and why should we tune in?
Yeah, I felt kind of lost for a bit. I just sold a marketing agency in the cryptocurrency space. Crypto's kind of where I made a majority of my money and wealth, and I was fortunate to do that at a young age. So I had this dilemma where I could retire at, in my young 20s, which is a weird feeling, and kind of went on this dive into what the purpose of life is, honestly. And just started the podcast in the meantime. Didn't expect it to change my mindset this much because at first I was just going to have on successful business people and I cared a lot about money. Money was everything. I know I asked you about it on the show too, but I had on all these spiritual people, pastors, just walks of life all over the place. And it really changed my perspective on everything. And now I just have on interesting people. I don't care how many followers they have or views they get. If I think their message is valuable, I'll have them on, which I think is unique for someone with a big podcast because they start to get kind of picky, and I don't really like that.
No, that's one of the things that I like about your show. You've got a great variety of people. You've got completely unknown people that are massively interesting. And then,
Mm.
frankly, you've got some really well known people that aren't quite as interesting. I mean, because that's life.
Yeah, you got to balance them out. So you'll have to throw on the OnlyFans girl, the celebrity, even though the substance isn't there. They got PR teams up their ass. You gotta have to throw those in to get views.
So tell me, how did it start? You start doing your show and you don't have any traction at all. I know a lot of people are pondering or considering launching their own show. This is episode 17 for us, for me. So
Yeah.
episode 17. And everybody that isn't already famous that goes to launch a digital um, podcast, broadcast, call it what you will, it's tough in the beginning. So tell me, how was it for you when you first started?
Yeah, most podcasts fail. I'm glad you brought that up. I think 99% of them fail. They don't make it to episode 100. So I knew that going into this, that the numbers were stacked against me, but that's business, that's life. I mean, I didn't let that get to me. I knew how to make a statement. So my first episode, instead of just interviewing some billionaire or something, because those actually don't get many views unless they're known. I interviewed this girl that sits on your lap while she cuts your hair, and yeah, she has like a fat ass and everything. So that was the interview, man. And I knew I had to make a statement. You only get one first impression. That video got like 20 million views. So from there, I just rode that momentum.
So to speak. So, did you get a haircut? That's the question.
No, my girl would definitely not let her sit on me. But my friend took a bullet for the team.
So you had a buddy get a haircut,
Yeah,
and so what did he say about the haircut? Was it a good haircut? That's the thing I want to know first and foremost. I mean, the lap thing is secondary. That's momentary. The haircut's like eternal.
it looked decent, and he got a full shave up and everything. It was pretty impressive.
So I'm just curious. Does this person work in Vegas?
Yeah, she just moved to Vegas. So if you want her, I'll connect you guys.
No, no, I'm good. I don't have any hair, so but that's a fascinating profession. So you
Yeah.
you started off, and obviously you've got almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube right now.
Yep.
Do you always think about, is this a viral interview? Obviously, you've got interesting people now, except you still have a business to run, and part of that business is making those numbers just continue to grow. Do you think about this is going to be viral, or we should do this because I think this would get a lot of views?
Yeah, it's the game we have to play, right? Because me and you can nerd out about random topics and be super interested, but we gotta have in the back of our head, will this appeal a mass audience? And that's the thing with business when you're talking with billionaires. A lot of their advice is great, and I nerd out to that stuff, and I personally love it. But those don't go viral, unfortunately. And I've had on like 4 or 5 billionaires, and I always expect it to go viral, and it doesn't. So you kind of got to appeal to the masses. And I think that's why when you see Trump talk, it's like a fifth grade level. That starts to make a lot of sense to me now. I used to think it was so simple, but people just like understanding simple concepts. So you kind of got to play that game, right?
As a speaker and a hypnotist, I don't know if we talked about this when I was on your show. One of the basic foundational elements of trance hypnosis and speaking from a platform is to imagine that you're speaking to bright 7-year-olds. And
Mm.
that's not positioned as an insult. That's just the opposite. It's to teach the speaker or the presenter or the hypnotist that most people are just bright 7-year-olds. That's all they are. And that if you complicate things or you try to, you know, eloquently enunciate and elucidate them on topics they don't know about, they're lost. They don't care. You don't sound smarter. You just sound. They go blank. They stare at you and they nod and they don't hear a word. And so for me, that's one of the things that I really appreciated about your show is it's just basic. It's down to earth. It's raw. You're not trying to pretend you're somebody you're not. You're just a guy. And I think that's frankly your biggest appeal.
Mm.
Why do you think Digital Social Hour? Obviously, guests are guests, but why do you think that it's grown so well, so fast?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors off the top of my head. I didn't cheap out on editing, and a lot of people do that. They outsource in India or whatever, Colombia, other countries, pay guys $5 for every clip. I went in house. I went United States so they can understand the culture, understand what part of the video to clip. So I pay extra for that, but it's worth it. Another reason is the network. I built up a massive network prior to launching the show, which most people don't do. So I did that for my whole journey in entrepreneurship, just doing people favors, not asking them for anything. So by the time my podcast launched and I asked them to come on, they were more than happy to fly out to Vegas and do that. And then just getting better at interviewing. I told you on our episode, I was really bad at first, but just through reps, studying the top podcasts in the world, hiring coaches. I just hired a media trainer. I'm going to start taking acting classes. I'm going to start taking tonality classes. You got to do these extra things if you want to be a good host. And I think a lot of hosts just show up and think it's going to be viral, but there's a lot that goes into it.
I would agree. Having been on stage since I was 7 years old, I know most people don't understand stagecraft. And in my own personal opinion, this is not vanity or ego, and I pray that I'm not one of the ones I'm about to describe. Most podcasts have no place in being. They're just boring. They're horrible.
Mm.
And people just believe if I put a microphone in front of me and a camera on me, I'm going to do content, everybody's going to want to watch it, and they don't. But I also think you have to balance that out with the idea that in the beginning, especially since this is the new media, I come from radio and television and terrestrial world where I'm on NBC or CBS or CBS radio, and they're just not the gatekeepers anymore. So help me out on this because part of what you've done is you own the mic. You're in the top less than 5% of people that have grown their podcasts. Tell me, what should somebody who's wanting to launch now, what should they be doing on their first, I don't know, 25 episodes?
My first thing I did was I made a dream list of every guest. I'm big on spirituality and manifestation. So 17 pages of names that I wanted on the show. And week by week, I'm crossing off names. You also got to study other shows before you even start. I was watching Joe Rogan for 10 years before I even started with my dad. We used to watch every single episode. And subconsciously, you'll just pick up interviewing styles and how to ask questions and things like that. Do your prep on guests. Don't just come in there without anything. I have at least a one sheeter in case the conversation gets kind of dry. I just pull out a topic. And also, don't read off the questions word for word. Make it seem natural. Don't seem like a robot. But the guests are super important, I'd say, because you can only say so many things. Like, although you know a lot, you can only talk about what you're an expert in. So it's important to have on different people, and that's why I bring on the top expert from every single industry, and then I take their following and just grow mine. So it's the growth has been tremendous.
What have you done for growth? I mean, do you buy ads? Do you do your because when I was on your show, obviously it took a lot to coordinate our schedules. Do
Yeah.
you do you tap into your guests' lists and PR? Do they promote the show? Tell me, how do you go about building that following?
Yeah, I'm running YouTube and Google ads. So we're growing like 10, 20,000 subscribers a day off those. That's a hidden gem for people watching. You can run ads super cheap right now on Google.
So how what do you do to get those subscribers? What are you spending per subscriber?
I don't know per subscriber, but it's pretty cheap depending on the countries you're targeting. I spend, I think, about $500 a day to 1,000, and I'm gaining 10 to 20K. So it's
10 to
not too bad
20,000 followers a day.
on YouTube. Yeah,
We're for $500.
yeah, it's between 500 and 1,000. It fluctuates. I'll
That's
promote
the
the
course you
video.
should teach. I
Yeah,
mean it.
it's I don't
That's the
see
course. I'll sign up for that course today. Let me be the first subscriber to that.
I know, right? I don't see anyone doing it. It's crazy.
Nobody does it. And again, I don't think anybody knows how. I meant what I said. If you have that formula down, sign me up because you've been a master at that. Second step of it, let's talk about the production side of it. You said that you don't go like a lot of people do out of country to have somebody for $5 a clip editing your clips. You go in house. What's that kind of cost? What's the production that goes into each of your episodes? And can you explain more on that?
Yeah, so I believe I pay about 5,000 a month. He does 90 clips. So the clips are anywhere from 20 seconds to about a minute. And then he edits all the long form as well, which isn't too much editing for me because my show's so raw. I actually don't cut out anything unless the guest requests it. And we censor curse words. That's about it. So yeah,
So
it's
did
way
you
more
did you
expensive.
censor me?
If you said an F bomb, we censored it just because of YouTube.
Yeah, I
Like,
probably didn't say an F bomb. That wouldn't be my nature, but
I wish we couldn't. I mean, I curse too, but it's one of those things with like YouTube, they'll lower your views if you curse too much.
that makes sense. So how did Cardone and how did Cardone get his numbers then?
Yeah, we had to
Never mind.
censor a lot on that one, but he went so viral, man. He's got the winning formula, like between the success and the way he delivers the message. It's so like polarizing that half the comments hate him, half of them love him, which is the secret to going viral.
So everybody loves you. So I mean, you're like middle of the road. You're kind. You're good at bringing out that in other people. On the production side of things, obviously, you've got now. Is that person that's doing your clips? Are they also doing the entire production? Are they shooting?
No, I have a team for that. I invested in a studio, but I used to rent studios. But either way, you need someone that knows that world in case the cameras mess up or something. You don't want to be, messing with that stuff.
Yeah, and so for the most part, you said you're live switching. So even though you've got you're shooting on three cameras.
Yeah, I'd say 2 to 3 cameras for people watching. You can either live switch or use a site called Autopod, which will automatically switch for you after you film. I've done both.
Kind of like the cameras switch in a Zoom would. Who's ever talking, it switches to that camera.
Yeah, it uses AI, so you just input the video files from each camera angle, and then it will automatically switch for you in post production. So I use that whenever I film in like LA, Miami, or somewhere else.
And what software is that?
Autopod.
Autopod.
Yeah.
You have obviously you've been doing extremely well. It's extremely popular. Is it profitable?
Yeah, first 6 months were not. I was figuring stuff out, overpaying for studios, trying out different editors. So I lost about 100 grand the first 6 months, but now we are profitable. We ended the year profitable actually last year, and this year we should net a good amount, man. It's great, but the networking is insane, and there's so many opportunities on the back end that I'm not even monetizing. I mean, you and I were talking about events. There's just so much that I can expand this on.
Yeah, without a doubt. The live event side, and I saw that you had hooked up with our mutual friend Dan Fleischman, that
Yeah.
you're going to kind of connect your networking events with Aspire.
Mhm.
Obviously, that kind of networking is phenomenal. So, what are the ways that you earn revenue? Do you earn ad revenue? Do you make money on the YouTube?
Yeah, so sponsors are a big one. I just looked at our ranking actually. We're 93rd in the country for sponsorship revenue out of every podcast in the US, which is pretty crazy. And then we get ads on views. TikTok's actually paying a lot right now. They just switched up their algorithm or something. So if you're posting over a minute long on TikTok right now, those are bringing in like thousands on some of the videos, which is crazy. And then Instagram just rolled out payouts. We'll see how that does. Biggest revenue is the paid guests. So people pay to come on that don't have a following or are trying to promote a business. We do about 30 of those a month, and we have the
What's the
events.
average what's the average investment for someone to be on your show?
7,500.
And you say you got about 30 of those a month?
Yeah, we got 30 a month. We're booked till June on those. So that's pretty sustainable. It's consistent MRR basically. And I think when I go to sell this thing in a few years, that'll really help the valuation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have some sponsors. I know you had the world's greatest water while I was there. Tell
Yeah.
me how did that come about?
Yeah, shout out to Afora Water. I was making the switch from plastic to glass, and I was just researching companies. I used to drink Spring Valley Mountain water, but I found out they had a bunch of fluoride and stuff to that. So I stopped drinking that, and then found Afora Water, and I just love their water. I didn't even know how expensive it was, but yeah, we worked out a deal where all my guests get some water. Shout out also to hostage tape. It's changed my sleep game tremendously. So every guest gets hostage tape. I like to just give value to the guests, right? So when I'm looking for sponsors, in the back of my head, I'm like, will my guests use this product? And if I think they will, then I'll bring them on.
How important do you think it is that somebody figures out what their unique marketing proposition or unique positioning of their show is, and what's social digital hours unique positioning?
Yeah, I think you need an angle, but it will change. Like I said, mine was just inspire entrepreneurs at first and help them make more money, which is still part of the show, but it's not the only thing. Now we kind of encompass a bit of everything: health, spirituality, business, all sorts of random things, right? But the goal is just to educate and teach people how to unlearn what they learned growing up. That's a recurring theme I see on every episode. Everyone just shits on public school and all the bad stuff they learned growing up. So now I'm just trying to get people to think from a different perspective.
So speaking of public school, are you in a relationship? Are you married?
Yeah, I'm getting married next year.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
I just saw our buddy Dan Fleischman just posted a post yesterday that he's having a baby.
I know that's crazy because he just got out of the divorce, so I did not expect that.
Yeah, and his new girl is named the same as my girl, so I'm sure he's going to do just fine.
Wow,
Erica's a magic name.
love it. I'm big on names.
I'm big on names. Yeah, I am because they're hypnotic. And
Mm,
anytime you hear something, it's programming you. And if you keep hearing one thing in particular, example, if my name was Richard, I would
mhm.
never go by Dick, and I would go by Rich. And I mean that. And that's not. I'm not just saying that to be funny. If somebody's calling you a Dick every day, you're going to have a program. If somebody's calling you Rich every day, you're going to have that program. And so, my last name, my birth name, I'm half Polish, was Sylvestrak. And
Mm,
every time somebody said it, they butchered it. And especially I'm getting on stage as a young performer, as a magician, and they butchered the name. So I changed it to Silver. My oldest son is Sterling Silver. My middle son is Maximus Silver, which means the best of all silver. And our
mm.
daughter's name is Prosperity Silver.
Wow.
And so yeah, names matter. And so sometimes I don't think people pay attention when they again, if your child is named Judah, do not think I'm insulting you. I just don't understand you. I'm not sure that I would want to name my child one of the biggest villains of all time's name.
Yeah,
So
a name can make or break you, man. You could get bullied growing up for your name.
I got bullied growing up for my name. They would call me Marshmallow or Marshy and again, even when I was getting bullied, I knew my name was unique. I never heard anybody else growing up with the name Marshall, so I knew it was going to be useful. But then people take it to the other extreme where they come up with names you cannot remember. And you have to ask them 4 times, what was your name again? How do you
Yeah.
pronounce that? Could you spell it, please? And I think that we've gotten to the point, and I'm sure you know this too and agree, that everything matters, that everything is echoed and expanded and magnified to such a degree that everything matters.
Mm.
And I think inside of that, how tall are you?
6'6".
You love basketball. I know when we got done shooting the show that we shot together, you immediately grabbed your gym bag and were headed out to shoot some hoops and play a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, in this day and age, tell me about authenticity and what that matters. You were talking about Grant Cardone, and he's kind of figured out the algorithm to get people to
Mhm.
both hate him and like him, which
Yeah.
I find fascinating coming from an entertainment point of view. I never realized the power of getting people to hate you.
Yeah, if you can handle it, right? Some people can't, and I was like that growing up. I could not handle any form of hate, but now I think my skin's a little thicker, especially with the podcast. I see a ton of my guests get hate, but not much comes my way actually. I think because I'm so neutral on the episode and I'm just
No,
guiding the conversation.
you're very vanilla ice cream. You're like I said, you're just likable. You're like Dan Fleischman. Everybody likes you, everybody respects you, everybody appreciates you, and you don't rub anybody the wrong way.
Yeah, but going back to authenticity, I can sense it so quick on people now that it's within a minute or two. I mean, I'll know if they're putting on a show or something. So people can see through that stuff these days.
And so do you call people on their BS?
I won't do it on the show just out of respect for them, but it's if they put on a show and I know it's not really who they are and they're being disingenuous, I just won't talk to them anymore.
I don't blame you. There's a guy running ads right now, and I won't say his name. Probably people will figure it out when I say what the ad is. He's dissing Napoleon Hill,
Huh.
and he's dissing Think and Grow Rich in his ads, and he's saying this is all BS. It doesn't work. It never worked. And I can't wait to get the guy on my show because Think and Grow Rich is the book that helped me understand finance and wealth building. And Lord knows it worked in my instance. And I have multiple friends who would also say the very same thing. So it's interesting to me. We've got, a lot of influencers these days. Yeah, I feel really bad that I haven't gone to jail. I feel
Mm.
really bad that I haven't been in prison because apparently that's a part of the current mix that you got to have in order to have any
Yeah.
kind of success.
That
But
street credibility.
I guess, but not quite what I would look for. So,
Yeah.
so tell me how are demographics weighed into what you do on a regular basis? Coming from terrestrial radio and terrestrial television, we were always extremely aware of who we were appealing to. So, if
Hmm.
one of my first radio stations was a radio station called FM 104 K Joy, beautiful and relaxing music to have your teeth drilled by, and our demographic was 55 plus.
Mm.
I was 17, so it was kind of weird for me to be working at a radio station that the listenership was all 55 plus, but we were also the number one radio station in San Diego because of that.
Wow.
So, how much thought on your part and should I on my part put into the concept of going after a particular demographic? You're in your mid 20s, I'm at level 61. And so, your audience and my audience might be dramatically different.
Yeah.
Do you think about that? Do you think about the fact, are you seeking to appeal to a demographic that's closer to who you are? Or are you really seeking to appeal to a mass demographic?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, I'm kind of getting a bit from every demographic, I'd say. It was mainly guys at first, but now I'm having on, I mean, that clip with the miscarriage, I don't know if you saw it, but the one that got 25 million views, now I'm getting a lot of women, and these women actually engage more than guys. So now I'm kind of thinking in a way where how can I attract more women as audience? Because that podcast, Call Her Daddy, got acquired for 60 million. Their whole audience is women. So that's a huge untapped market that I'm trying to get more involved with, have on more woman guests. And right now, I'm kind of just accumulating a bit of everything and seeing what sticks. And then I'll probably decide more on a core audience.
Do your sponsors care who your audience is? Do they ask? Do they is there again, I'm brand new. I'm a novice, and so I'm soaking this up. And I don't care if anybody else sees this show. I just
Yeah.
want to say thank you to you because you're giving me such phenomenal value today. Should I think about demographics? Should I say, my advertisers, my sponsors are going to want a male between the age of 25 and 45, and so this is the kind of content I should have? Or is it smarter to just go after a broader swarm, a broader reach?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've lost sponsors because some of my guests are controversial in their eyes, so it's part of the game. But at the end of the day, I don't rely on sponsors, which 99% of podcasts do. So I don't need sponsors to make money. I'd be fine with just the sponsors I got right now, and we ride this thing all the way till the end. So it's not something I stress over. I know a lot of shows have to be super vanilla, and they can't have on certain people like Andrew Tate or something because they'll lose all their sponsors. But for me, I don't care if they don't want to sponsor it. That's fine. I can make money in other ways. So yeah, for me, it doesn't matter. And I'd recommend that to other creators starting, not to fully rely on sponsors because that's a dangerous game.
Who was your first sponsor?
First one, I believe it was hostage tape, the mouth tape, and that's just because I genuinely used the product and loved it. I sleep an hour less than I normally do, and I wake up more refreshed.
What is that? I've never heard of it.
It's a tape you put on your mouth when you sleep, and I've literally split tested because I have health trackers that I literally sleep better just from taping my mouth at night.
So you just it covers your mouth.
Yeah, because I snore and I sleep with my mouth open, which is bad. All this bacteria grows in your mouth, and that's why you have bad breath and stuff. So there's a lot of health behind it.
That's fascinating. What other health hacks do you utilize?
Dude, yesterday I had this guy. Have you heard of Scalar Energy?
No.
Oh my gosh, this guy came in with this giant machine, took like 20 minutes to set up in the studio. It's radiating all over my body during the episode. And you can physically measure your stress levels, your energy levels, and your chakras with this machine. And then they take a before and an after. And they have these in Vegas. Tony Robbins is actually investing in a facility in Vegas right now. So I'm going to start going there monthly. I go to infrared saunas every week, twice a week. I do cold showers. I don't eat seed oils. I drink glass water. There's so many different health hacks. I don't use fluoride toothpaste. There's a lot of things. I don't use any plastic, natural body wash, natural deodorant, all that stuff.
Where do you were talking a moment ago about scaling this up and seeing an exit. What do you think your exit is?
Um, it'll be 8 or 9 figures. We'll see, but I want to make sure whoever buys it, it's similar to Rogan, where I keep doing podcasts and I have fun, and there's no influence on who I can have on, what sponsors I could work with, and stuff. I wouldn't sell it just for money.
Very cool. You obviously do a lot of 30-minute episodes, and you were talking about the fact that 23 minutes is about the attention span on a complete show, and obviously, I come from a different school where I'm more of a Rush Limbaugh kind of person where I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, how do we create this long term audience?
Mhm.
Rogan is on the far end of that side of the spectrum, doing 3 and 4 hour and 5 hour podcasts. I once saw he did a 6 hour broadcast and it was nonstop, just
Wow.
one long conversation. Um, what do you think? I mean, is that really obviously Rogan right now is the number one podcast in the world,
Yeah.
uh, making hundreds of millions of dollars. What do you think is the secret to his success?
Yeah, I don't think there's a winning formula because there's so many variables. So it's hard to say like if you film for this, this will happen. But I think he's just been around. He's got the time on his side because he's one of the oldest shows, so he's built up that audience. He's so good at interviewing. He's one of the most connected men in the world. He partners with the right brands and sponsors. He's got a great relationship with Spotify. He's got a lot going in his favor with the UFC stuff. He has on every single fighter. He brings on the most interesting guests in the world, which I love. He's one of the very few shows that doesn't care about the guest following, which is great. Yeah, he's the GOAT, man. That's who I'm chasing.
Are you w- so we're looking at an exit in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm guessing, is what you're looking at as a timeline.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows getting acquired right now. My friend just bought Entrepreneurs on Fire for $15 million. There was a show called Smartless, got acquired for 100 million a few months ago. A lot of companies are starting to buy podcasts because they can reach a very good audience that actually pays for stuff.
Do you think that there's any distinction between doing a pre-recorded broadcast or something live? Do you think it's better or worse? Obviously, in a live environment, lots of things can go wrong.
Yeah.
You certainly can and I know that because I come from a live performance background. In a pre-recorded, you can edit it better. You can make it look sweeter. Do you think there's any advantage to live versus pre-recorded?
There is a lot of live streamers right now making good money, but I haven't seen any live podcasts making big money. I think with podcasts, it's a bit too risky just because you don't know what the guest is going to say. I mean, you could end up getting totally demonetized on YouTube if they say the wrong thing on a YouTube live. So for me, it's just not worth the risk. I haven't done any live personally, and I don't know. For me, it's just not worth it.
Got it. We when I was there on your show, we talked about the idea that many influencers and many people with extremely successful podcasts don't do live events.
Yeah.
And obviously, Dan's out there working with the team over at Aspire, working really hard to make that a success. You've got other people. My experience, because my background is all live. That's all I've done my entire life since I was 7 years old.
Mm,
And also seeing what the numbers are in a live environment versus a either live remote or pre-recorded uh, presentation. The numbers are huge. We just did an event with, and I would say it was not even an extremely qualified audience. It was less qualified than we normally have, and we
mm.
still did $10,000 per head
Wow.
in sales. And so, why do you think many influencers, yourself included, because we talked about your live events, why do you think many influencers either don't do live events, or if they do a live event, never offer anything up for sale? Is it just a fear of losing subscribers or losing followers?
Yeah, great question. Because I'm in that position right now, right? I've been having events for 5 years, never sold anything, and now I can get 300 to 500 people in a room in any major city I go to. So I've had 10 of those now. I have one in LA this week and Salt Lake next month, and for some reason, I just haven't pulled the trigger on an offer. I think it's people care too much about their reputation and they don't want to offer something that doesn't have value, right? So I'm scared that I offer something for $10,000 and people don't feel like they get enough value, and then they start hating on me and tarnishing my name. I don't know about other people, but that's the way I think about it.
My experience has been, and you know who Perry Belcher is?
Yeah.
So Perry's local, Ryan Dice, his past partner.
Yep.
Ryan and Perry were at my house in Vegas, and they asked me, "How big is your mailing list?" And I said, at the time, I said, "I don't know, 140,000 people."
Hmm.
And they said, "How often do you mail to your mailing list?" And I said, "Yeah, every couple of weeks, whenever we've got an event going on." And they said, "You don't have a mailing list." And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "If you're not mailing every day, you don't have a mailing list." And I
Mm.
said, "How often do you guys mail?" They said 3 times a day. And I knew they did because I was a subscriber. And I said, "Aren't you worried about people opting out of your list?" And they said, "The people that opt out aren't our buyers. They're not our customers.
Mm.
And if anybody was offended that we communicated to them too much, then they were never going to buy anyway."
Wow.
Um, my belief is the other side of that coin, that it's cultural. That if you have a culture of never selling things, then people don't expect you to sell things. And then when you do, they're offended. Yet, if you build a culture that's built on the concept that says, "Look, we're a business. I make no apologies for being a business.
Mm.
And because we're a business and we're teaching you how to have a business, we want you to know you should sell things because that's business."
Right.
The example is great. Grant Cardone doesn't apologize for pitching things, never apologizes for selling something. Even Rogan has gotten to the point, where the majority of the clips I see online for Rogan anymore aren't just content, they're promotional. They're
Mm.
selling some product.
Right.
And so what do you think about the idea, because this is something that we've done in the past, because I would agree that sometimes the influencer is concerned that it's going to come back on their brand. What do you think about the idea of somebody else actually doing your pitch for you?
I mean, I'm willing to test it, dude. It's definitely worth testing. I think in life you got to take risks. You got to be uncomfortable to grow. So yeah, we'll talk about it at one of my future events and see what happens. If it generates some good money, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that is the solution. When I get on a platform again, I close hard. We had somebody, a mutual person that we both know, came into my seminar 2 weeks ago, and I saw him sitting in the back. He's an online marketer, sharp guy, nice man too, and he was sitting in the back, and I could see that his jaw was almost hitting the floor at how much I was closing and how much I was selling, and again, a fish doesn't know it's in water, and
Mm.
it's kind of a pendulum swing. Some people think they sell too much, some people don't sell at all. And anybody that doesn't sell at all is going to think anybody that sells in the least is selling too much.
Mm.
And so I think that is the culture. Same
Right.
same thing I see with these major events that attract 3, 4, 5,000. I used to work in arenas with
Yeah.
15,000 people in the audience, and they'd bring on Kiyosaki, that I think's been on your show already, correct?
Not yet, but I'm working on it.
So they'd have Kiyosaki, and they'd have Trump, and they'd have Tony Robbins, and all these other big name speakers that didn't sell anything. And
Mhm.
then they'd bring me on. And again, while I would like to think people know who I am, they don't anymore. I went into a 6-year retirement, and nobody remembers who I am, except they would put me on stage because I sell things.
Right.
And inevitably, I remember one time I think we might have talked about this on your show. Tony Robbins came on, and although he doesn't sell things, he came on before me and gave away a free 3-day seminar. And
Mm.
I was forced to come on right after him and sell my 3-day seminar. So you got Tony Robbins giving this away for free. You got Marshall who over here selling his event, and
Yeah.
we still crushed it. And so I think part of that influence process is yes, getting an offer that's sound, that's the key, but also selling to them in a way that they thank you later on. And so then the haters can't hate because you got all these other people saying thank you. So
Yeah. If I truly believe in the offer and I know I can deliver it on a mass scale, because probably 50 or 100 people would buy it, I would definitely try it.
I'm telling you right now, and I would love to help you develop it if you'd like any assistance. I like you. I like what you've done. Your product, if you're spending 500 to $1,000 a day and attracting that level of subscribers, that's your product right there.
Mm.
That's your product. And then beyond that, just figuring out who the core audience is, because when we figure out an offer, we always stop and say, who's the core audience? On that note, who's your core audience? What's their age?
Yeah,
Are you,
it's actually so unique on every platform, but I think it's males 29 to 34 is our biggest. I think that's like 60% of it. But some clips just blow up and then it alters the stats because it gets so many views. But I'd say young men for sure.
and what are they looking for?
Health,
Sex, money,
business.
power?
Yeah, typical guy stuff. All that.
Very cool. Um, I ask this of all of my guests. If I were to wave a magic wand over your life and it
Yeah.
transformed one major area, what area would it transform?
One major area. Ooh, I want to say basketball, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's important enough. Finance is good. Health is great. I tested my biological age. I'm 21 years old. Relationship's great right now. I would say my relationship with my dad. I would say the way it ended, it could have been a lot better. So I'd say that area.
Is he still alive?
No, he passed, and it was pretty traumatic. So I wish I could have handled that better.
I don't know if we chatted about it. I had a horrible relationship with my own father. I
We
would call
did.
him up on, yeah. And again, the only redeeming thing is I'm very glad that I never went to the dark side with him. That
Mm,
I just kept, even though I was getting nothing except for hate and anger and meanness, that I just stayed steady in that because I had a feeling that he was going to die without me being able to repair the relationship because it
mm,
takes two. And I just said, if he does die and that's what happens, then I would just like to know that I did everything I could.
mm.
And again, I think that we teach what we most need to learn. And you obviously saying I wish that I had had a different relationship with my dad, I think is enough for other people to stop and say, gosh, how's my relationship with the people that I care about?
Right. Yeah, you only got two parents, right?
Well, and you only have one life. I had a close friend of mine died 3 weeks ago, went to Bali, completely as healthy as anybody could ever be,
Mm,
got a minor infection and took like ibuprofen or Tylenol,
yeah.
and the Tylenol killed him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he died within 2 hours.
Holy crap.
That's what I said, and then I just had another buddy of mine who's a magician in Vegas that I hadn't seen for a couple of years, and then somebody said, "Yeah, his memorial was on Saturday." And he's just a
Oh,
few years older than me, and I said, "What the heck?"
damn.
And he had died of liver cancer, and it made me realize how very short life is. And then my wife was just in the hospital for the past 5 days. She had gotten an infection, and they gave her the wrong medication.
Oh
And
my
so,
gosh.
yeah, all the above makes me realize our life is very short. We don't know how much time we get, and we should be firing on all cylinders. We should be doing everything that we think that we can because we don't know if we get a chance to do it tomorrow. Um,
Facts.
what are your thoughts? I have an adage, and again, I'm all excited about the idea of helping people like you who are already massively monetizing, show you another model. And again,
Mm,
I believe that Grant Cardone's growth, the biggest portion of his growth happened when he started doing 10x live, when he
mm,
started doing his annual conference, because
right.
that gave a chance for people to actually see him in person. And there's nothing, as you know, because you're doing events, nothing sexier than face to face, live, flesh to flesh interaction.
I love it. Yeah, that's why I have events because too many people are living on their phones when you need to get out there and meet some people. 10x GrowthCon was the first conference I ever went to, and it changed my life.
And tell me how.
Just opened my eyes, man, because I'm a kid in Jersey in a college dorm room thinking I'm hot shit, making 50K a year. And I go to 10x GrowthCon, get so humbled. 10,000 people there. The energy was just amazing. And seeing Grant on that stage 6 years ago, now having him come on the podcast, come full circle, it's pretty crazy, man.
And were they selling things at 10x?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Especially the first one, man. I think Russell Brunson made $1 million. Anik Singhal pitch, Grant pitch. Everyone was selling.
So there's your lesson.
Yep.
There's the lesson. And again, I think it's just cultural. And I think that that's the biggest thing. I don't make apologies. I get haters from people that say, Marshall's just a nonstop infomercial. And I just say, thank you. I appreciate that you really feel that way. Because I didn't miss a point. And again, I had somebody comment on one of my ads the other day. Oh yeah, if you go to his seminar, he's just going to offer you this $70,000 training program. And I'm thinking, yeah, are you new? That's business. People sell things. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to have the high ticket product, man, because there's people that will pay that price.
Well, there's people that don't like you. You could say, look, I'll give you $1 million free. All you got to do is opt in, and they'll say, what's the catch? And they'll never opt in. And then there's
uh,
people that will buy a little bit of what you're selling, but there's people that no matter what you're selling will buy anything you're selling and then say how many.
yeah.
And to me, that's where the margin is. And again, that's what's so exciting to me about someone like you. And this isn't a pitch. If we never work together and we're just great friends, I would love that too. But that's what's so exciting for me about you is that yeah, your demographic, your 20 something, early 30 somethings, they're the economy. You're the future of the United States. And to have people in that demographic get the concept of needing to sell things is awesome to me. I've got a young guy that works for me. His name's Luke.
Mm,
You met him. He
yeah.
actually was there in Vegas with me. This guy's a rock star. And he's 22 years old. He comes and he sees me at somebody else's event. He comes up to me after the event and he said, whatever you're selling, I'm buying.
Mm,
And at the time, I said, I have a $60,000 training program. He said, I've only got 10 grand on my card, but I can move some things around. I got to fly back to Chicago and move the money, but then I'll be back. So he signed up for the event and within 4 days had paid the 60,000 off in total. And now is a protege. Now is somebody that I'm going to help make millions every single year. So
wow.
it's a big change. I know that, I was working full time since the time I was 10 years old. Not everybody does that. You're not normal. You
Mm,
know that. You got buddies you play basketball with that their whole world revolves around playing basketball and working a job that pays their bills so they can play basketball.
almost everyone in the league, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I see. I've got brothers that I love very much that when we were growing up, they were playing softball because they love softball. And
Yeah.
while they were playing softball, I'm running a business, working a full-time job and, doing anything I need to do to get ahead financially. What do you think makes people make that leap where they're not just trying to get by and play? Because I'm guessing the majority of the people in your league, if not all the people in your league, will never play pro ball. So it's not a living. It's
Yeah.
just for fun. What do you suppose is the thing that makes people choose fun over revenue if they don't have revenue? I mean, if you got $1 billion, go have a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
until then, you should be busy. What do you think it is in people?
Yeah, that always baffled me. And as I traveled the world more and saw people in like poorer countries actually really happy and family oriented, I just went to Bolivia and that's what I saw there. No one was rich there and everyone was super happy. I think a lot of it's environment, man, the people you surround yourself with and just the way you grow up, the parents, how they raise you, all that subconscious programming, man, because your brain's 90% formed by the time you're 6, I believe. And you're pretty much just programmed to live a certain way and you got to find your way out of it. And that's what I did. I watched Gary Vee videos in college when I was broke and a few other people and got my way out of it, man. But it's definitely not easy. And a lot of people aren't willing to even attempt to get out or even know that they're in it in the first place. So, you said you found out at 10, which is super impressive. I thought I was early when I was in my teenage years.
Well, we were so poor that I knew my mom wasn't going to be able to buy me anything I wanted. So if I wanted anything, I was going to have to earn it myself.
Mm,
And then, early on, mom was still working 3 jobs, so she was broke, and I'm making money, but she's got to feed the family, so she borrows money from me
mm,
and never pays it back. And so I'm working harder and harder because I'm just attempting to get ahead. Yet I'm
right.
watching my siblings, do softball or drama or all their extracurricular activities while I'm working a full-time job. So I resented it as a teen, except now I realize she gave me a blessing. And the
Mm,
blessing was a work ethic. And a
right.
blessing was knowing that this level of effort isn't hard work, it's normal. And anybody not putting out this level of effort is being lazy.
Mm,
And in that laziness, they're gonna. I always tell people, you'll either pay for it now or you'll pay more later. Always on everything. So
mm.
which is it going to be? Are you gonna pay less now, or are you gonna pay more later?
Love that. That's so true in anything.
How do we get through to young people? Obviously you've got a hip, cool show, and that's working. Is there anything else we can do to get through to the 20 somethings that, because I think it's a pendulum swing. I think we had a demographic that right now is in their late 20s, early 30s. I think that demographic uh, had been fairly entitled, and then they realized that entitlement didn't work. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of them are scrambling right now to say, okay, I got caught blindsided. My parents, in their effort to actually give me a better life, ruined me because they didn't make me work.
Mm. Yeah, I
What
think
do you
there's a
think?
yeah, I think there's a bit of a awakening, a revolution. You can call it whatever you want. I see it. But I think social media is the way we're gonna reach them because that's where they all are. They spend hours a day on it. And you can curate your feed to just be nonsense, or you could curate it to be empowering. Like my feed is amazing, man. When I scroll on my feed, I get so amped up, inspired, because you gotta like photos, comment on photos that you resonate with, and you gotta say, I'm not interested on stuff you don't. So I don't get any naked girls or anything on my feed. I got used to in college, but you can really curate it to your liking. And I think it's important just to get messaging to these young people on there because their parents aren't gonna tell them.
Because they don't know.
They don't know, yeah.
They don't know. Do you have siblings?
Only child, two stepbrothers, but we were never close, so I'd say no.
And what nationality are you?
Half Chinese, half Irish, which was awesome to see both sides growing up. So my dad's side, the Irish side, all alcoholics, grew up on a farm and, worked that lifestyle. And then my mom's side, the Asian side, super important about education. And that's where I got the work ethic from. The education side, I disagreed with that with the public school stuff, but the work ethic was great to get from my mom.
I would agree. I have been to China 22 times touring. And, again, it comes back to that idea that you don't know what you don't know. And when I would go to China and I would see that the caste system in China is very real. You either belong to the people that have or you're a part of the have nots.
Mm,
And when I saw both the laborers, the have nots, how hard they work. But then I also saw how driven the culture was in general. And that, again, people don't like to talk about it because they think it's racist. Cultures have personalities, and I'm Polish, and the Polish culture drinks. They drink a
mm.
lot of alcohol, and the Irish culture, it drinks, and that's not a generalization. That's just an observation. And in my experience has been that many of the Latin cultures, the Filipina culture, my wife's half Filipina,
Yeah.
many of the Asian cultures, you see you see the immigrants that are coming in legal, and I'm not talking about the illegal immigration going on now, which is a lot of trouble. The people
Yeah.
that do whatever they need to do to come to this country legally and bring that work ethic are a massive, massive boon to our country because once again, it demonstrates this is what's supposed to be.
Mm.
Not, let's see how much we can milk or bilk the government for. Let's see, how far ahead we can get.
Yeah.
So, that's fascinating to me. Clearly, you got the red hair from your dad.
Yeah, I got the
And
fro from the pops.
yeah, clearly, and you also must have got the height from your pops.
Yeah, definitely. My mom's 5'6", which is actually decently tall for an Asian woman. But yeah, mainly from my dad. He was 6'5".
Besides basketball, what do you love?
I love learning, man, which is crazy because I hated it growing up. I thought I hated learning because of public school, but now I love it. I learn every single day, man. I watch at least 3 podcasts. I listen to audiobooks. I'm just learning all day, and it's amazing. So that's probably my number one passion.
I love it. I'm a high school dropout myself, I dropped out of high school to take on a full-time job, and then a couple years later felt kind of guilty. And
Mm,
so I went back to college. I didn't get my GED. I just went to college. You just have to pass the exam to get in. I did. And I went to college for a year and a half, and the same thing. I just hated it. It was
mm,
so meaningless to me. But I full circle just like you. Now I just love learning. And it's shows like yours where I can watch fascinating guests, or shows like this where people can actually call in and chat. I
mhm.
find amazing. What before I let you go, somebody wants to launch a podcast. They want to find out more from you. First and foremost, where can they watch your podcast?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram or YouTube if you want the long form, Sean Mike Kelly or Digital Social Hour podcast.
And then secondly, do you have any I know you're not making any offers right now. Do you have anything, any PDFs, any downloadables, any products that they could buy? And if they could, how do they get them?
Nothing yet. I need to make something, whether that's a PDF or mastermind or something. But yeah, we'll work on that together.
I would love to help you with that.
Yeah.
Hey, you're awesome, brother. It has been an absolute joy having you here. I'm at my studio in San Diego right now on the beach, and
Mm,
I'm jumping on a flight later today to head to Vegas to do some filming there at the Palace. But I sure am looking forward to getting to know you better, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
likewise. Thanks for having me on, Marshall.
You're very welcome. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Awesome. Sean Kelly, everybody. Awesome show. Great stuff. We're coming into hour two. And in this second part of our show, as you know, it's all about you. It's all about you contacting me at studiomoney.info/live guests. The best call of the day, most interesting, voted on by your peers, wins 10 ounces of pure Marshall silver, 10 ounces of pure silver. And the royal prize today, $2,500 to the person that can tell me what the secret word in the envelope is. If you're brand new to the show, sometimes people think you're not really giving the money away. How do we guess it? And again, it's not a major deal to guess the word. I give clues throughout the course of the first hour as to what's contained in the envelope. Sometimes people think the words are too hard. Yeah, they're not easy. I'm not just going to give it away. We did give away $13,500 in episode 13, actually. $13,500 to Emily Milish. So congratulations to her. And she's proof that we actually do give the cash away. So if nobody wins it today, it bumps another $500. So it'll be $3,000 tomorrow. But I have a sneaky suspicion that someone will be crowned our winner today, $2,500. And I'd like to be you. We're going to take a short break. We're going to jump into the vault, where we go into the vault for all the reasons that Sean Kelly and I were just chatting about. We're going to jump into the vault because I can say anything there, and so can you. And we won't get banned from all the other platforms. So at the very least right now, let's take a short break. I want to show you a couple of videos about some live events that we do. One called Turning Point, one called First Million. And then go into the vault where you will be the star. StudioMoney.info/live guests. All I want to do is have you there. So short break. See you in the vault. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited.
Turning Point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions, how to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, You must experience it fully.
as it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
Isn't it time for your first million? Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do what you love and learn how to monetize that on a 7-figure level? Do you want to know exactly what you need to do and what not to do to have your biggest year ever? If not now, when? First Million. A 2-day subconscious learning experience that both teaches and programs you with the personality traits and habits of multimillionaires. At First Million, you'll learn how to take almost any wealth vehicle to a 7-figure level or better. You'll learn how to stop using vehicles that don't work, are too difficult, or simply unsuited for you. Making money is supposed to be fun. Stop living your life, getting ready to live your life, and start living a life of adventure. First Million was crafted to not just change what you do, it's also going to change who you are. Instead of trying to become a millionaire, you'll learn that you're already a millionaire, even if the money has not yet been deposited in your bank account. Beyond mindsets, you'll learn the actual personality traits of multimillionaires, so you'll naturally do what millionaires do to produce a similar result. One of the key personality traits of a millionaire is charisma. Imagine being able to walk into a room and without speaking a word, have the entire room drawn to you. Imagine others hanging on your every word, wanting to be near you, to be in business with you, and hungry to buy whatever you're selling. First Million will teach you how to use the charisma that politicians, entertainers, CEOs, and celebrities use to move nations and make millions. You'll also learn how to get more done in less time. You'll learn priority management and what the highest and best use of your time is. You'll learn laser-like focus upon IGAs, or income-generating activities, and you'll learn to let go of anything below your pay grade. What if you had more customers than you ever imagined? What if they came right to you and fought to buy from you? At First Million, you'll learn attraction marketing and strategies to get others to pay you for your marketing and advertising before they even purchase your offer. When you attend your First Million, you'll begin to see an overwhelming amount of amazing opportunities all around you. You'll look through the matrix and easily identify target-rich environments. You'll learn dovetailing and stacking strategies to acquire more customers and do more business with the customers you already have. Unless something is sold, no money is made. Whether you're a sales pro, a novice, or even scared to death of selling something, your First Million is going to have you fall in love with influence and enjoy it as the game that it is. When you believe in what you're selling, you're obligated to sell it. You'll learn exact language patterns of influence and persuasion. You'll learn how to get others to ask you for what you're selling and have them believe it was their idea. You'll become dynamically able to use arcing statements, direct links, embedded commands, and so much more. An entire tool belt of selling gambits will be yours after you get to your First Million. As a First Million alumni, you will be clear on what you need to do to GTFM, or get the freaking money. You deserve great wealth, And Your First Million will help to raise your self-esteem around the topic of money. The amount of money you make will always be determined by your own self-image. You'll learn what billion-dollar corporations already know about outsourcing, how to get anything below your pay grade done for pennies on the dollar. Your First Million will give you the groundwork to understand presentation skills and the highest paid profession on the planet, public speaking. When you graduate from Your First Million, you'll be able to create presentations that inspire with confidence and power. If all that weren't enough, there's so much more. Making Your First Million is almost certainly going to require that you manage at least a small team. You'll walk out of the course with the knowledge of how to lead teams and synergistically get more done in less time. Technology has made our lives so much easier as we've learned how to harness it. The First Million course will teach you what is up to date and available in technology so that you can use that cutting-edge technology to get more done and have more fun. You'll also learn how to harness the power of the internet for massive passive profits. Every time you attend Your First Million, you'll learn new technology and internet marketing strategies, as these two portions of the class change every time you attend. It's like getting a brand new seminar each time you come. If you're a representative, you may attend Your First Million as often as you like, totally free, with your enrollment in the First Million course. If you're not yet a rep, or if you have not yet invested in Your First Million, enroll now. Everything begins in thought, and you know what you want to say. Go ahead, say it now. Say it out loud. I'm ready for my first million.
We are down and dirty. Well, at least I'm not down, but yeah, you get it. Hey, $2,500 up for grabs. Already given quite a few clues to today's secret word. The more you listen, the more likely it is that you are going to start figuring out how my brain works and how to figure out what the secret word is. The winner of the $13,500, the first winner of our secret word cash giveaway, that's what she did. She listened. Number one, she also was paying attention, and when she won, I was dumbfounded. I was boggled because yeah, the words aren't easy. And she got it and won $13,500, and then was smart enough that when she came to Turning Point, she multiplied it many times over, about 4 times over actually, and credited it toward her education, at least the education of her partner. So life is good. Could be you next. All you got to do, studiomoney.info/live guests. You go there, you tell us what your question is. We take a quick look at your email, give you the information, and get you on the air live. That's what I would have for you. So going to start taking your calls right now, as a matter of fact. Before we jump into that, I'm excited. Lots of great things going on. And the 1 second, let me take care of one piece of business real fast here. This is live. You can tell it's live because of exactly this. Still got a life to live, so it's all good. First call of the day, we have George Knowlton. George Knowlton, you are live on the air with Marshall Silver. So glad to have you, friend.
Good morning, Marshall. I'm glad to be here.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Roseville, California today.
Lovely. And what is Smile Company? What does Smile do?
Smile Company is an asset management company, and SMILE is an acronym for safe, moral, inclusive, linguistic, and experiential. So every investment that we invest in must meet the SMILE system categories for all stakeholders.
Give me an example of some things that do.
Some things that do meet the SMILE factor.
Some things that fit the criteria, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So I have an RV park that I'm getting ready to develop that meets that criteria because it not only is it going to improve the neighborhood where it is, but it is going to produce tremendous financial results for our investors and will provide community resource as well for people visiting. So, and it actually helps all the businesses around it too, which is the idea of Smile, to lift everybody.
Awesome. What's your question today?
So my question is this. My question is, and forgive me, I'm going to go a little bit long here, but my question is this: is I'm planning to start a podcast. I'm working with an integrator because I'm a visionary, and I realize that though I'm good at integration, it's not my strongest suit. So I hired an integrator, and they're encouraging me to do a podcast, and so I am developing a podcast, and in the likes of like Bob Proctor and a few other people, my thought is just to do 52 of them, do it for 1 year and close it out. And I'm interested in your thoughts on that. But before you answer, I just want to tell you, I was very interested by your guest. So your guest, I believe I've been walking in the waterfall of God's glory and grace and spirit and this universe of spirit for a number of years. And part of that glory and grace came about on when the Christmas star came. I really believe, the Christmas star came a couple of years ago, and it was supposed to change. If you believed in it and you worshipped it and you prayed that and you believed that it would change your life from then it would. And curiously, you and Seth or Sean was a fantastic guest today because we're talking about podcasts and all of those things. Again, part of being in the flow of the universe. But you also talked about his father, and he talked about that. And that Christmas star, I had such great um, aspirations for what it would do in my life, and I had been like you shared with your father. We had a bit of a contentious relationship, and all of my life I worked very hard to not be the instigator and not cause conflict, and always remain friends. Because, like you, I believe that at some point he would pass, and and I wouldn't have a right relationship with him. Unfortunately, that night of the Christmas star, my dad and I had a disagreement, and I forgave him immediately. And of course, the relationship, and he was very upset at me. And of course, I didn't act exactly perfect. I will say that. And so I never got to see him again before he passed. And it was something that Sean shared that his dad passed, and there was something that didn't finish. And I just wanted to share that, man, that really touched me. And the fact that, when you're walking in the universe, you don't know where you're going to get affirmation. You don't know where you're going to know that somebody else is walking your same path. So I just wanted to shout out to Sean, man, thanks for being uh, just very candid and letting us know how you feel. And Marshall, that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy watching you, is because you're candid as well. And so, with that, and knowing that I'm walking in this flow, and I believe you're part of this flow, I have this question. What do you think about doing a podcast for just a year?
I think that, yeah, it's serendipitous that Sean was on the show today and you're asking this question. I would agree. And that was the question that I was asking him. Everybody I've talked to, I've been in broadcast my whole life. I've been on stage since I was 7. And I knew that launching this particular broadcast live 2 hours a day was going to be a lot of work. And unfortunately, in the beginning of anything, it takes a lot to get it going. And one of the reasons that I decided to do it every single day was that Monday through Friday, people know we're live. And I have people that message me and apologize for not making the live broadcast because they had something going on and it's such an important part of their day. Few things that I would say. And, Sean talked about the fact that in the first, I think he said 4 months or maybe 6 months, that he lost $100,000 doing his podcast. And that would have been enough for most people to say, I'm done. Except I can relate to that emotion. When I came to Vegas and I brought my live show to Vegas, in the first 6 months of performing my show, I lost $600,000. Not only am I busting my butt every single night, I lost $600,000. And it got to the point where I just was exhausted. And I said, maybe this just isn't meant for me. Maybe I'm not the right person for this. And then something happened and I did a couple of little tweaks. And within 1 week, we were profitable. And within 2 weeks, I was making $80,000 a week. And then, as they say,
Wow.
the rest is history. For the rest of the run, I was making $80,000 to $100,000 every single week. And obviously, we became profitable and everything turned out great. I think that's the biggest challenge for anybody that's launching anything online is, unfortunately, the barrier to entry is very low. And what that means is it's not hard to launch a podcast or a broadcast. It's not hard to go live on the internet, on digital. It's easy. But just like what we were talking about when we were chatting about it, most people shouldn't have a podcast. They're wasting their time. They're wasting their energy. And it's like I say podcasts are the new book. People think if I just finish my book and I get my book published, everything will be fine. And take it from somebody whose first book was published by Simon and Schuster. That's not enough. You have to also understand that the book or the podcast is the least of what you've got to do, and the most of what you've got to do is figure out, how do I get an audience? How do I promote this thing? How do I market this thing? Sean said he's spending about $1,000 a day on his podcast. So my feeling, if somebody isn't willing or ready and able to jump in there and put a substantial amount of money, not just into the production, that alone is going to cost a bit of money. Right now, I've got 4 separate teams that are managing this minor little broadcast that we're doing. I've got somebody that manages, as you know, the people that call in and make sure that they're interesting, that their mics are working, and that their video's adequate. I've got producer Tom is sitting in the studio and he's mixing everything. He's running the banners and the backgrounds and getting you on the air. We've got a promo team, Monty and Nick over at Exposure, that do all of the publicity. They do the social media. They do the creation of content from the broadcast. They help with guests on the show, and they're doing a phenomenal job. I highly recommend Exposure and Monty and Nick. And so a lot goes into that. That's before we even do any marketing. So if you approach it like it seems like you approach everything else, if you approach the podcast as a business and say, no, I'm not going to just put my podcast up and hope people are interested. And even with that, everything working perfectly, firing on all cylinders, still manage your expectation and realize you're probably going to be into the deal for about 6 months before you see any traction, no matter who you are. I think that if you'll approach it that way, then yeah, it's a good idea to do it. That said, if you don't approach it that way, if you don't realize you're going to be spending a lot of money initially on the production side of things and a substantial amount of money on the production side of things, then if you don't do that, then yeah, you're dead in the water.
I appreciate that answer, Marshall. And I'll tell you what I really heard in that. Number one, I heard do my homework and make sure I have my capital ready because it's going to cost me some.
Yep.
But then beyond that, what I really heard was this. The same thing I heard from Sean, actually, and the same thing that's brought me the success that's brought me so far is Sean's heart and your heart is actually in providing a service that really helps people. And if that is your goal, is to really give back, and you're just monetizing in order so that you can give back, then I believe the 6 months or whatever doesn't matter. You're not going to quit. If you're just doing your book to get exposure to make cash, I think that is something that is easy to quit. But I appreciate the fact that Sean talked about he puts out a lot of content, and really his goal is to help society. That is his goal. And I believe that's why people are magnetized. And I appreciate you bringing me right back to making sure that, number one, it's a family of business, right? It's a family of business. It's not just one piece of it. It's the whole family of business and camaraderie and togetherness, and all of it has to be a part of the team, because it's not just this one moment that we're online and we're doing a podcast. It's all the moments ahead of time that make the podcast what it is, such as you picking the right guests, right? The right guests on your podcast are very important. So I want to appreciate you for that. But so far, your guests have been phenomenal. I've missed a couple of days, but I really wish I could be here. But just thank you very much, Marshall, for you giving back. And that's why I'm here. And hopefully my podcast will do the same. And you'll come visit me too, because it's a magnet, right?
I would love that. And I just want to reiterate that again, well, I think that altruistically, yes, we care about people, both Sean and I, because you were using that example. I also don't know about Sean. I believe this to be true. We're here to make money. So make no mistake about it, that we're here as a business, and that's the point I was making. That I'm unapologetic that we want to give phenomenal value. And also, if a person doesn't launch any endeavor, podcast, book, whatever it is, if you don't think about the fact that this thing has to make money, it's a business then it won't be written or produced or created in such a way that that's the outcome. That said, sometimes it takes a lot of noodles against the wall to finally figure out, here's how we do it. Sean was talking about the fact that about half of his guests, because they don't have a following or they're brand new or they simply want the exposure, are paid. You know, they pay $7,500 to be on his show. Well, if half
Mhm.
of 60 is 30 times $7,500, well, that's 250,000 a month. And that's just from the guests. That's not sponsorship. That's not any other, monetization. So I think that, one of the first things that anybody's got to do, and it's certainly what we did with this show, is we said, all right, here's what makes the show unique. And I think that that is major. One of the things that makes this show unique is that it's live. And like Sean said, you never know what can happen in a live show. Things can go wrong, guests can get out of hand, any number of things can come up. But the second piece of all of that is that how are we different? Nobody's giving away thousands of dollars or putting thousands of dollars up for grabs. Nobody's guaranteeing a giveaway of silver. And I don't know anybody, because this is a live format, I don't know any other show. I haven't been able to find another broadcast that's digital that's taking live calls from ordinary people. Guests are one thing, guests are one thing, but live people, real people, that's what makes this show unique. So the two things that I think you should do is, number one, figure out what your unique marketing proposition on your podcast is. And right now your haircut won't cut it because it's not unique. It's beautiful, it's perfect, it's not unique. But then the second thing is laying down from the beginning, saying, here's where we're going to make our money. I have a lot of revenue streams that eventually are built into what we do. We haven't launched any of them yet because we're still working on traction on viewership on the front end. And so the things that we'll do to monetize sponsors, live insertion of ads, back end marketing to people, not only for live events, also for other things that are available, utilizing, helping our guests to also sell their products and generating revenue on that angle. So many things that have to go in. So first and foremost, figure out where are we going to be profitable. Secondly, figure out what's the unique marketing proposition. And then finally, I think it's a great idea that you already said, I'm in it for a year. I'm going to do 50, 52 episodes. I'm in it for a year, and I'm not going to stop till we're done, because I would agree with you. If it were me and I hadn't already said, I'm committed to 3 months, every single day, as often as I'm not on stage, 5 days a week, best I can, to get here, do this live, and blow this audience up on all platforms. We're seeing about 500 people a day consuming the content that we're doing. And like I said, we're on day 16, so not too bad. We need to get it up to about 1,000 people in 30 days, and I'd like to see 10,000 in 90. And then after that, shooting for 100,000 and so forth. But I think that again, that's the key. If you're going to
Oh,
launch a
come on.
podcast, make sure you have a business plan in place. Otherwise, it becomes a money
Oh,
hole
come on,
very
come on.
fast.
I think that is fantastic, Marshall. And you hit on a few things that have brought me to where I'm at. So when I first, I was very successful as a very young man. I believe every dream I dreamt financially came true at about 19 years old. And I thought I had the world by the tail. And so I just started giving stuff away. And so I worked to give stuff away. And I wasn't monetizing what was really in my heart. And Smile Company, an asset management company, the unique thing about it is that it is built exactly for that, so that I can give away as we monetize and we make money. Because monetizing is the number one thing. If you're gonna want to give the world money, give things away, you actually have to make money too. It doesn't matter what you're trying to give away, you got to make money. So monetizing is not evil. It actually can be very good and can be moral and can be inclusive. And that's our goal. And the one unique thing I'll throw out before I'm off this air is that the one unique thing that my asset management company offers is guaranteed development costs. So when we go into a development with our investors, we guarantee the cost of development. So our investors don't go in with one number and then come out 6 months later and we say, sorry, construction costs doubled. Here's your number. That's not what we do. We know our costs, we know our building, and we guarantee costs. So any investors out there that are looking for, limited partnership, making some money, we are the company. I'm telling you, we are going to blow it up in this world. And Marshall, you're going to be a part of that, and I appreciate it.
Well, I love it. And I love everything you're doing. You've got a great spirit, George. I'm excited to see your podcast. So you take care. We got great guests on the show. By the way, I forgot to mention, because I mentioned it yesterday, we only had time for 2 calls since I went to pick up my wife at the hospital. And Sapphire Gear, you won. Sapphire Gear, you won the 10 ounces of silver yesterday. And congratulations. Sapphire is also an Inner Circle member living up in Alaska. We love it. Congratulations. We got time for at least one more call on today's show, maybe two, just depending. Next call, asking about family members. Sylvia, welcome to the program. So glad to have you with me. You are loved.
Thank you. I would like to feel that.
You are loved. Where are you calling from?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Love it. I'm actually headed there later today, so excited.
Cool. Cool.
What's your question?
My question is, how do you get family members to step up so that you're not taking care of everything?
Got it. I have personal experience in this area. How did you find out about me?
Oh, we met last week.
Obviously, you were at Turning Point, but how did you find out
Yeah.
originally about Turning Point and about me?
I heard about Turning Point from Manny a month or so ago, but I didn't get selected to be in your audience from that. And then my friend Melissa invited me to come to a thing, and I didn't even know what it was. And I came because I needed time out for me.
Lovely. Perfect. I love it. Melissa's amazing, and we
She
love
is.
her. In fact, she was the first winner of 10 ounces of silver that we had. So,
Cool.
yeah, very cool. So the answer to your question is, yeah, the challenge with being you is that you take care of everything. And you, for a long time in the family, have stepped up repeatedly whenever anybody needed you, including
Yep.
aging family members, including anybody that might have had a temporary financial or emotional setback. Your personality, and I know this because obviously we spent some personal time together in person. Your personality is you take care of everything, and you have long been carrying the burden. And the challenge with that is that when you shift gears and say enough's enough, initially everybody's going to hate you. All the family members, they're not going to like you. And I went through that, when in 1994, I made $22 million net that year. And so I started taking care of the people in my family that needed help, my mom, a couple of my siblings. And after a while, I realized that they were taking advantage of me and that it just wasn't working out for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where I just had to learn how to say no. And I think that's the first step in dealing with family members is you've got to be able to say no. Say I love it. And then the expression I use is I love you and not, no, get away from it. It's I love you and I cannot do this anymore. And in my circumstance, again, I recommended a book when you were at Turning Point last week. The book was by Ayn Rand, and it was called The Virtues of Selfishness. And that book is the exact book you want to read for the question you've asked me. And it comes down to the whole book. Ayn Rand, of course, is the person that wrote The Fountainhead. She also wrote Atlas Shrugged. She escaped communism, came to the United States, and has said repeatedly in her lifetime that the United States is moving toward communism right now, that the government is becoming more and more empowered, which means that the citizen has less and less, which is communism. And the book boils down to one concept. And what the concept is, in the event of a loss of cabin pressure, masks will drop down. Please place your mask on first, then assist the person beside you. And the reason's simple. If you attempt to put the oxygen mask on your friend first and they're thrashing, you both are going to die. Whereas if you put your mask on first while they're thrashing, chances are they'll pass out. You can put the mask on them just fine and you both live. On a personal level, we've got all these other dynamics around us. We've got spouses and kids and parents and all these people around us that the moment we say, I'm going to take care of me first, they're going to say, you're just being selfish. Family comes first. You don't come first. Family comes first. And my response to that is no, because if I don't come first to me and you don't come first to you, guess what? We don't have a family. So unless I do this now, and then the other piece of it is, financially, I tell people, do not loan any money, especially to family, that you're not willing to give away, because you're not getting it back. They're going to
I
say
know
they're
that one.
borrowing it. Yeah. And they have good intentions. They really do believe they're going to pay it back, but they
Yep.
don't. And
Yeah.
then number one, you're angry because they don't pay it back, and then it splits the relationship up. So whenever any of my family members come to me, I don't say yes to everybody for sure. When they come to me and I do say yes, I say yes, and I say, I will not loan you the money. I will give you the money. And I would prefer you gave it back. But I'm going to give you the money. This is the amount I'm going to give you guilt free. If you don't pay me back, I'll notice. I won't hold it against you. I'll notice that you didn't. And I promise you, I'll never loan you money again. But I'd like
Mhm.
you to either pay me back or show me proof you paid it forward to somebody else. So please
Yeah.
do not think that this is a handout. And I think that all things have to be that way. As our parents age, they need assistance. They do. And so once again, I have 6 older siblings, and I have a couple of them that I know will end up needing my help long term, and I will joyfully help them. I will not help them out of obligation or guilt. I will joyfully help them, or I won't help them at all. And I think that's the lesson there, that if you can do it in joy, then do it. If you cannot do it in joy and it's too much pressure and you're finding that you're sacrificing your own needs, then at the end of the day, nobody wins. So that's my advice to you, Sylvia. You need
Okay.
to be selfish. You need to think about yourself. And even if your spouse, and I don't know your total circumstance, even if your spouse is putting guilt on you and saying, we really need to take care of our parents, that's not on you. And again, my parents, both my mom and dad, have passed already. Erica's parents are not. They're younger than both of them are younger than me. And her dad, amazing human being, just gives the shirt off his back, always has. I don't feel an obligation to take care of her mom or her dad unless I absolutely want to. And with Erica, that's one of our agreements, is that as a family, my job is to look out for our nuclear family,
Mhm.
her and our children first. And then if I have any energy or resource left over and I want to, then I'll take care of other people. But I've trained Erica to know, don't expect me to just take care of them because we have some money and they need it, because they've got to take care of themselves too. Otherwise, it never ends.
Yeah.
Was that helpful to you?
Yes.
I can hear the tear in your voice. What's that?
I started this process last night because I just said to my husband, "You got to take care of your mom tonight. I've got to go home."
Yeah,
I haven't been home in a week and a half, and I'm just done.
yeah.
And then I had to call my daughter. A friend of mine encouraged me to call my daughter and have her arrange for people to come help. And she pretty much put out there to the whole family that I'm just done. I don't want to anymore. And my niece called this morning. What can I do? What can I do? I'm like, a little too late, a little too short, dollar short. You need to call your uncle and talk to him, because I'm not dealing with it at this point at all. I am taking care of myself because right now I'm suffering. My business is suffering.
Yeah. So I want to just point something out to you. Number one, you're exhausted, and
Yes.
none of us make good decisions nor communicate well when we're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to check yourself. Erica, my wife, was in the hospital for like the last 4.5 days, and I was reminded how bad our healthcare is in the United States, and how angry, I will admit it, how angry it makes me. We're one of the
Mm-hmm.
richest countries in the world, and healthcare is nothing but a profit center now. That's all it is. It's like our prison system. It's designed to squeeze as much money as possible out of people. I also, though, was at the hospital with my wife while she was laying in the bed, and she couldn't leave. And I'm glad she didn't leave. They needed to watch over her because she was having some pretty bad allergic reactions to the medication they had her on.
Oh no.
Except I'm sitting there with my wife, and I know that my presence is comforting her. except there was a point where I told her, I said, I love you and I'm visiting you because I know it's not fun to be in the hospital. I want you to know, though, there's nothing I can do by being here. And especially if you're going to sleep, which I think you should, you don't benefit by me watching you sleep. And I certainly don't benefit. So I said, can we have an agreement? This is the first night she checked into the emergency ward. Can we have an agreement that I will visit you for as long as I don't resent the visit?
Yeah.
You can feel guilt-free that if I'm visiting you, I'm doing it because I want to, not because I feel I have to. And while I'm here, I will stay as long as I feel I can so that I have balance and I can still take care of the things I still need to take care of. She didn't like it at first. I could tell on the first night when I said, I'm leaving. I got to go. I've been here for hours and there's nothing for me to do. I love you, but watching you sleep isn't benefiting either of us. I got to go. She didn't like it. And I could tell she wasn't happy with me.
Mm-hmm.
Except I left, and that's when the training cycle began. The thing I want to point out to you is your niece called and said, "What can I do?" And your frustration and your exhaustion, you said to her, "Day late and a dollar short."
I didn't say that to her.
Good.
I
I'm
just
glad
felt
you
that
did.
in my heart.
I mean, it's okay to feel it in your heart, and though you'd be better off not even feeling that in your heart. She's not a day late and a dollar short. In fact, she of all people is just in the nick of time.
Okay.
And so I want you to get that. So because that's the other side of that coin, isn't it? You're begging for help, you're pleading for help, you're crying for help, and then somebody comes to help and you're so exhausted. Oh, fine, you're helping me now. Why didn't you help me before? Because they didn't. And maybe they didn't even know you needed it. Maybe they thought you were strong enough and that was handled. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, with me taking financial care of my mother. None of my siblings had to because they didn't have to. I did. So that was why when I said, look, I need some help here. I'm struggling financially. Could some
Yeah.
of you also contribute? Some of them said, yeah, and they helped as much as they could. Some of them got nasty and said, oh, you don't love your mother? You're going to cut her off? And I said, I'm not cutting her off. All of this was a gift. You know, you can't cut somebody off if it was a gift in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what I went through though. And in some of them, the relationship has never recovered. Some of them, I still don't have a relationship because they were pissy about the fact that I had to protect myself at one
Mm-hmm.
point, stop caring for my mother in that area, at least temporarily.
Well, I did just tell her that she needed to talk to my husband or my daughter because they were arranging that now because I'm not dealing with anything right now.
Yeah, and let them know the reason. Just say I'm exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry I don't have any more energy. I just don't have it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I finally had to say to my family that continually asked me for financial assistance. I love you, and I need to take care of my family right now. My nucleus, I'm the only one that provides for them, and I've got to put them first. And
Yes,
well, it wasn't something anybody wanted to hear. Ultimately, there's nothing to say because it's the truth.
that is true.
You are loved, and I just want to point out to you, your last name is Johnson.
Yeah.
That was my mother's maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
And so a Johnson by any name is a favorite of mine.
Oh, thank you.
You're loved. And again, you're doing the right thing. And you do the last thing I want to tell you is do not feel guilty about the fact that you're taking care of you now. Hard for your husband to hear because, and I know that's exactly what's going through. I see the tears that are coming up when I tell you, don't feel guilty. Your entire face goes flush because that's who you've always been. Except I will tell you, much like me, sometimes you're actually hurting people by taking care of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're hurting the whole family by being the one that does that because they also need to learn to care for the people that they love too.
Yeah.
They need to learn that.
I agree 100%.
So God forbid they have kids and decide, oh, it's too much. My kid has this disability. I'm not going to be able to take care of them and just, write them off, give them away. God forbid that happens. The fact of the matter is you've demonstrated enough. It's time for you. And it's time for you to just say, look, I'm not being mean. I'm not even being selfish. Just I need time for me. It's balance. I see that
Mhm.
Melissa is telling you that she loves you and she cares about you. And sometimes we've got to find a different support system outside of our blood family to be our real
Mhm.
family. There's your family of birth and there's your family of choice.
Yeah.
And, my wife and my kids are my family of choice. My friends are my family of choice. My family of birth, my brothers and sisters, I love them and they're my family of birth, which is different.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up?
No, thank you.
You're awesome. And I don't know about anybody else. You're my choice for call of the day. So you keep
Oh,
listening, and on tomorrow's broadcast, we'll announce who our winner was.
okay, thank you.
You take care. Great people. Hey, there's nowhere else online or anywhere, frankly, at this point where you can call up and be heard live and get your questions to tough questions like the one that Sylvia just asked, and like the question that our caller right before Sylvia, George, asked. Tough questions. And again, you're safe here. Every day, 5 days a week, 90 to 120 minutes a day. I'm with you live, helping you. Nobody got the word of the day, the crowning achievement, the royalty references. Word of the day, opening it up, was suggested by my beautiful princess Prosperity. She said the word today should be majestic. Because nobody won today, that means we add $500 to it. And on tomorrow's show, 320, the prize is $3,000. So make sure you join me and take a shot at winning $3,000. I am Marshall Silver. It has been a phenomenal show. Thank you to our guest, Sean Kelly, for being on the show. Tomorrow's show, another amazing guest, awesome programming. And on tomorrow's show, we have, let me see, who do we have? We have a mystery guest. That's who we have. I'm not telling you. You got to tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll see you then. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker, telling you, make this the greatest day of your life. You are loved. See you tomorrow. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.